today we talked about like 3 big lessons that we picked up from TDE's story and from Netflix and from our personal stories, building our brands. Lesson number 1, gotta put in the work when nobody's looking. 2, get out there. Get out there early. Don't wait. Just get out there. And 3, while you're doing these things, focus on the long game. Focus on the current, like focus on the next milestone, knowing that it's for a long game. Don't take anything personally. Just figure it out as you go, because there's a long game. Welcome to the Unfiltered Podcast. I'm your host, RAF, and this is my co-host, SAHEER.
Yeah.
What's good, bro?
What up, what up?
Good to see you today.
Good to see you too, man.
Man, I'm excited to do this episode.
Yeah, bro.
Episode 5. We've been doing this like little by little every week.
Yeah, man.
And we're getting closer to like a MVP that I really like a minimum viable product, you know, like this is like
oh, that's MVP. Oh
yes.
Shit, I haven't heard minimal viable. Okay, new acronym to add. No, but you're right, it's something, you know, like to do something consistently, and like even doing 5 episodes, you know, like with the lifestyles that you and I both have, it's hell yeah,
super
man.
busy. You have a 1-year-old, I have a 2-year-old, and it's like and you know our schedules are so packed, but that's the challenge that we all have in our lives, you know, like time is low, but you got to get your goals in.
It's not a one by one type of thing, like all these things got to happen, you know, alongside each other. But hell yeah, I'm excited too, man. Episode 5, we get to really get into some things that we like, really like, are passionate about. So,
Today, man, I really want to talk about like these past couple of weeks. You know, we've both been curious about TDE a lot. Like, we're here in Southern California. This is like a record label that grew from the roots from here. I've always been curious about TDE myself, you know. You and I both have friends who work with TDE. And you know, the artists always impress me, like all of their content, bro. Like from Kendrick to J-Rock, like to everybody in their team, like has videos that are like,
no, the standard is
standard is not 100%. The same as anybody else. You know?
and the folks at the top, Top Dog and Punch, and they're just not gonna let anything go. And I think that's really cool to see like play out over the decade. Like it's been a long time that they've had their run, and hell yeah, I mean, this might have been like the most research I think I've done, you know, like to get like the concrete story. But I've been like a fan of Kendrick since Section 80. I think that's how I was introduced. How were you introduced to TDE? Do you remember?
Dude, it was a Kendrick song, and I just don't remember which song. You know, I might have come to Kendrick a little later than most people, I think. Because like Swimming Pools was like, you know, that was the breakout. That was the one where you're like, holy shit, he's a superstar. Who the fuck is this?
He's a superstar. Well, so for a lot of us that maybe saw him like even just like 2-3 years prior, I knew, like, just because I love rapping, that this is an excellent marksman here, like whoever this is. And I remember in Riverside, I think it was 2009, I saw Kendrick and Ali, like they did a concert at school.
Sick.
So like that was when Kendrick was before Good Kid, Mad City. It was before like his big hit and everything. So we got to really see him, you know, like getting it, you know, figuring it out. That
early stage.
But even in the early stages, like he asked the crowd, what do you guys want to hear? And the people just started yelling songs, and him and Ali were just doing it live. Like, so that was, even then, like, that's incredible, because it's like incredible, that's very unpredictable, you know. And like, and if you're hearing one song more than the other in the crowd, it wouldn't behoove you to play that third one that you had, you know, that nobody's saying. So now you have to really know all your records, and I think that's something you got to see live, was like that. Oh, this person is all the way invested with every word. And he also, watching Kendrick, he was like Nas, he was like Cole, in that they didn't have a backing track. They didn't have the master playing, you know, like this was their DJ with the instrumental, and and they were just actually rapping on the mic, breath control, you know, like real showmanship. So started going on a rant,
that makes sense. You know, that's like such an interesting thing to me, because what you just said is like one of the keys to running any business, you know, like what they were doing at the beginning until today is listening to their audience, like their core audience. What do they want? We'll 100%. Give it to you. What do you want? We'll give it to you. We have it. You know?
100%.
But without asking that question to the audience, like people won't know which direction to go. Like you can have like a little hunch.
Sure.
Like I should
which
go
is
this
what
way.
got you there.
Yeah.
Which is what got you there. Yeah.
But once you're there, you got to ask the audience, like, hey, I have an audience now. What do you guys want?
Makes it so much more interactive.
Right.
And you're displaying that we can go anywhere with this.
Right.
Because I went anywhere with this. And I'm going to execute.
Yeah.
And so like, TDE has always been at the top of my list, like as like a conscious listener of music and hip hop music in particular. And so there's like just this whole origin story of theirs, which
that's sick.
I think like parallels a lot of what we go through, you know?
Man, that's sick. Like you know, I was always curious about them, you know, because of the quality of work. And then more recently, you know, while we're, you know, getting ready for this episode, I've been excited to figure out like what makes them tick, so that we can find the tools necessary for any business, any dreamer, any artist, any person who's trying to build a brand from zero. To use that tool that they have been using to get to the top. You know?
Right.
That's what I'm excited about today.
Awesome.
Like that's what I want this Unfiltered podcast to be about. You know, we want to share stories with the audience, so that we can pull out, you know, tools that people have used to get successful.
Sure.
Because we're not the experts here, you know. We're also learning, just like the audience.
Absolutely.
We're also learning,
and we're watching. I think we're just being attentive.
We got a pulse on the thing, and we're also trying to learn from others.
Agreed.
And that's what I want this podcast to be about. And
for sure,
you know, for the audience who's listening, it's just like a great way to, you know, A, feel empowered by these stories, and B, find the tools that they're using to succeed, and then C, go execute. You know, that's basically what we want the audience to get out of it.
100%.
You know?
I'm with that.
That's sick. I love it. So tell me about TDE, and you know, tell me about your research and how you got started.
So for me personally, with TDE, it was Section 80. My friend Rashab, he played that in the car. It was Rigor Mortis. Do you remember that song?
I did.
I'd never heard somebody rap like that. I couldn't find the pocket. And so as somebody who has been like listening to hip hop music for about 10 years now, this was all the way different, but it sounded great. And it sounded like he knew what he was doing. It sounded very jazzy. So that's how I got, you know, kind of hooked on to Kendrick Lamar. And then, like you said, like they had a standard that I didn't hear anywhere else, and this was in their mixtapes. So that also drew me. And from there, like I was working with a friend of mine on my music, Raj. Shout out Raj. He was a journalist with it was an online publication called The Smoking Section. Shout out Smoking Section with Up Rocks. And he, through that, I believe he developed a lot of genuine relationships in the industry. And one of them was, you know, like just being able to work with TDE, and he told me a lot about TDE and about how they operate, and that everything's very independent, and that everything's very much what they feel and what they think is top tier. And so at the time when he said that, it's like, all right, like everybody says that, you know, about their music. But then it's another thing to see it, you know, and to really, I guess, understand what that means. Because like you said, Dave Free, shout out Dave Free, and Kendrick himself, but like those two have a very unique visual approach. And they execute that through every video for all of their artists. There's not one video out there, in my opinion, that's like loosely made, you know, that, and I think that's something also that was, you know, very, very obvious, that like there is an internal checking system that is either going to be okayed or not. You don't get to determine, you know, just some outsider just because you have money, that what this is going to be like. So yeah, that was very unique. They got started in 2007, I believe, with J-Rock. So wow, J-Rock was their first artist that got signed to Asylum Records, which is a subsidiary of Warner. That was in 2007, and then Warner acquires Asylum, and J-Rock is signed directly now to Warner. There's like a lot of stuff that's kind of, it happened, and those people know what happened, but there was delay on the album, the debut album that J-Rock was supposed to be putting out, and I believe the executives switched hands. So anytime that happens, you know, the artists that have been signed prior, it's now a very steep incline uphill battle to get somebody excited about your project. You got to put the whole building behind you, you know, to like really get a successful debut off. And I guess it just wasn't happening, and so TDE, their label, negotiated the release of J-Rock from Warner. I don't know exactly the timeline here, but in 2009, I believe, or was it 2008, something like that, he had a song with Lil Wayne. So now he's doing the mixtapes. Like J-Rock and TDE, they're doing J-Rock mixtapes. And he had a song with Lil Wayne that came out that was big, and I believe shortly after got signed to Strange Music with
wow,
Tech Nine. Tech Nine is a whole other saga.
Yeah, Tech Nine's an intense person.
The stories I've heard on podcasts and interviews about this man and like what he does is incredible. And yeah, so there was that, and then
I've been watching Tech Nine's story for a long time, because like Tech Nine's from somewhere in Missouri.
Kansas
feel like,
City.
Is he from Kansas City? Yeah, he is from Kansas City, right?
He's a Kansas City.
So I've always like heard him because I went to college in Missouri, and I always heard of him and seen him live and seen his limo pull up to our college campus.
Oh
and
shit!
He would always do shows in these college campuses, and like I lived in Kansas City as well, you know. So I always heard about him, his investor, his story. So I'd be curious to talk about this at another episode.
No, for sure. And it might be Kansas City. I'm not sure if you.
No, it is. It is
Kansas
that?
City. Okay, yeah. So like, that he was. He has his machine, you know, behind him. He has his own label, very independent, and he signed J-Rock because J-Rock is a spitter. J-Rock is really like one of the top tier artists. I just say, all in all, J-Rock was their first artist that they were going to. Get into the industry with. Right. And things didn't go the way that they planned, the way that they expected. I've heard Punch talk about this on other podcasts, that, you know, you think that you're signing yourself into a bigger situation, that things will go a certain way, and it's not that way. You know, like there's a lot, the creative process is still the creative process. Right. The release, the whole packaging, the campaigning, that stuff still happens, you know, with the creators. That stuff still happens with the primary I guess the contributors, you know, to the product. And like I believe that when the people play their business politic games, it's very independent of the creative process, so they don't really care, and it shows you that you have to really own your own thing. You have to really have your own stuff going, and be able to, you know, easily like fund things and not sweat that kind of stuff in terms of the marketing and how we're gonna get the promo materials together and all of that kind of stuff. It's like, no, we have this all in-house. Right. And so that was a big thing. Man, that's interesting. That I took from that. But go ahead. Yeah.
During this period, like, where you said they were independent. Like, what happened? Like, they were signed to. Like,
they were signed to Strange Music. And so they signed only J-Rock. Okay. So now there are other artists that they have, you know, that are. It's not just J-Rock. Right. So Kendrick at the time was making when J-Rock in 2009 was with Strange Music, Kendrick put out Section 80. Before that, though, was Overly Dedicated. Now, I don't know if he has any other work, again, before Overly Dedicated. I think there's like a K-Dot mixtape or something, but those are very street mixtapes, you know, like you would have to be in the immediate vicinity of Kendrick and whoever's creating to like get those, like, and I'm sure they're out there now on YouTube. For sure. But so this is all what's happening is like they are trying different situations out with different artists that can now really pay the bills. Like that's what they're really doing. Like that's what it seems like they're doing. And Kendrick caught differently because of I believe it was Section 80. That was what made him popular in the blog era. You remember the blog era? Like people wrote articles, like entire articles about projects, describing them in great depth. And people built followings off of describing music. That was a very rich era to me because like it was taking the benefits of the internet, but not overstimulating or not over inputting, you know, content. Because now like people don't even take the time out, you know, to describe your album or anything like that. It just doesn't happen unless you have like one of those Apple articles or Spotify little editorials, whatever they do. Like it's like kind of a lost art. And I think in that era, that project itself was so unique. The first song was called Your Ethnicity. Loved it. And the way that he was doing everything that was, I understand a lot of music, hip hop music is pro-black, as it should be, because it is a black art form. But when you hear someone say your ethnicity, like, yeah, I feel that way a lot. And just sometimes like about my own people. So just that phrase alone, you know, now you're creating such polarizing content. It was really cracking. And that was when J. Cole was coming up. That was when I think 09 was when, was it? Yeah, 09 was when Take Care came out with Drake. Right? Yeah. And 09, 010, something like that.
I think it was like,
and that's where Kendrick had a verse, Over My Dead Body. Do you remember that? It was amazing.
Wow, yeah.
And I remember Kendrick now like, oh shit, now you hopped through, you know, like now you're on Drake's album. And Drake is somebody who recognized Kendrick's talent sort of around that time, I believe, was Section 80. And so now clearly there's another artist here that's breaking through in a different way with one of the biggest acts that's coming up. Drake, Take Care, goes on to win a Grammy, solidifies him, you know, as like a real artist, you know, and like as a real entity, you know, amongst the greats.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think 2012 is when Good Kid, Mad City came out, right? Or 2011.
Yeah, I think
like
it was around that
2011, 2012. So, yeah, and Good Kid, Mad City, like you said, Swimming Pools.
Right.
That's the single. So that's where we kind of bring Kendrick now a little bit, not a little bit, but in front of J-Rock. But not to be dismissed, that Money Trees verse, J-Rock's verse on Money Trees, will be a classic verse in hip hop for all of eternity. I don't really even remember what Kendrick said verse wise on that song. I just remember, you know, J-Rock's. And so that at that point now you see we have learned, you know, XYZ with J-Rock, and we're clearly operating with a different level of consciousness with Kendrick. So yeah, man, like that's you see like them learning in real time. Now that we're looking back at it, you know, in hindsight, you see these people learning in real time and exercising their decision making in real time
100
with real situations. They were learning, man, on the fly. And you could see things working out better for Kendrick, in my opinion, because they continued to make music regardless of what their situation was. And I think that was one of the core things to realize about anybody trying to make, I guess, the creative space they're living, is that you have to be this way regardless of being noticed or not noticed. This is just who you are. And that level of I would say like sort of fundamental difference between people, I think determines whether or not they become successful in a space that is so saturated with so many different acts. It's really, you are that, and you're doing good work whether or not the light's on you. And I think it showed. I think Kendrick, I'm sure, did write like hundreds of thousands of hours of work to get into a space where he was making these songs. And he was like, when you hear Ali talk about it, Kendrick very much directs how the production goes. directs like how the composition goes and layers his voice a certain way and changes the pitch, and
he takes full ownership.
Yeah, and
creative.
Yeah, exactly. And the responsibility about where things should go, which will be the most appealing. Excuse me. His decision making has been proven, and I don't think that comes from somebody getting reassurances a lot. I don't think that comes from somebody getting their, the pats on the back, like, oh, this is so cool. Like, I don't think you get that from hype. I think you get that from real, honest work and impressing yourself. Like, that's it.
And lots of trial and error.
That's it. And I'm sure there must be thousands and thousands and thousands of ideas that they've had that would impress a lot of us.
Right.
But wasn't for them. Didn't feel like it. Not gonna see the light of day. And that's something that I think comes from really just genuinely trying to make yourself happy, trying to make yourself feel satisfied. And I loved that about seeing it because it was very unique. When you saw Kendrick's visuals for Good Kid, Mad City, coupled with the production work, it didn't sound like anything else sonically, and then and me, because I'm a sound engineer, like I get really nerdy about it. Like, who is mixing this?
Right.
Because the snares are cracking differently. The vocals are sitting differently.
Right.
And there's a level of refinement to this mix that I don't think a lot of hip hop folks took to until Ali started really like putting his work out. And I remember him talking about how he came from when they only had the MP3 of the instrumental, and Punch and Top were like, no, but we need to adjust this sound because it's to this, and he had to figure it out, and he chopped individual elements and put them in separate tracks and controlled it differently, and used a lot of distortion to like really make it sound different, and like work with a lot of rough recording, work with a lot of rough assets, so that when he got to this space with Dr. Dre at Interscope and Aftermath, there's this level of hard knock, there's this level of just pure diligence and like work ethic that when you're given the great tools, like you completely outdo what anybody's expectations are. Like, do you remember this is skipping ahead, but like for Pimp a Butterfly, the King Kunta video?
Do you
remember that in the beginning with the cops?
Oh my god,
they're holding the car and they're just going crazy, and that the first time I see it, it's just striking imagery, and nowhere else, otherwise, like, it's other music videos might be a little bit more vanity driven, they're just trying to show the artist off, make them look cool, so people want to look cool like them. It felt like it was getting a little much, and then along comes folks like these that don't subscribe to just like vanity. They're really trying to make art, and that stretches over all of their visuals. Whoever that camp is, whoever that team is, like we only get to see the names, but like
that's so interesting, dude.
Very impressive.
It really is. They actually, what you just mentioned is so interesting because they got the good luck of working with Interscope and Dr. Dre, but that luck doesn't come to you unless like it's like preparation meeting that opportunity. They were prepared. They were doing this every day.
Without knowing if this is gonna work out or not. But work out in a sense where like, am I gonna have to go get another job so I can keep doing this? Because I have to keep doing this.
That's the basic like challenge for every single artist
100%
in the world, like whether you're a singer, a rapper, a producer, or an instrumentalist, like,
or a painter,
or a graphics designer.
It's
literally
anything.
The same challenge where it's like, is this gonna pay off one day? Like, I love doing this, but is this gonna pay off one day?
Because that's what we want. We need to survive off of what we love. And if we do that, I think it makes us happier people for our families, for future generations, for even your neighborhood and your community. Like you are an example of what hard work, dedication, but passion. That's what that gives you. I think you'll see it on people's faces. Like if for everything, for all the, I'm sure, sacrifice and hard nights and you know, whatever they did, the obstacles they overcome, when you look at these people, they look like they're living their purpose.
Right.
Like when I look at J. Cole, for example, like he looks like he's living his purpose. He looks, and he's very happy. And these are the greats that I'm talking about, but there's a lot of artists that don't make it to the Billboard charts that have huge followings.
Right.
That paved the way because paved the way for them to continue to do what they want to do, meaning make their art, because they stayed at making their art.
Right.
They stayed making it with the way that they wanted.
Yeah.
And that paid out in that way. So then, like, knowing and adjusting your expectations as it goes along, that's also a big thing. But you're right. It's like they kept doing that to a point where they now had this situation with, you know, Interscope, with Dr. Dre, to now execute. And then I believe it became like a 3-album deal. And then you know how it went. Like, but then that's just one arm, right? And then there's Schoolboy Q, there's J-Rock, and then there's Ab-Soul, but now there's SZA. Then there's Isaiah Rashad. And then there's Lance Skywalker, I remember. And then, you know, Sir? Have you heard of Sir?
Yes, I have.
Oh, bro.
Sir is the shit.
Sir is one of my favorite artists.
Me
like
too.
He is somebody, like, again, like even further down the line, you see that the standard did not waver. Right. Because Sir's projects are impeccable. And he's also somebody who produces and engineers himself. He worked at Guitar Center. He was working with other artists and stuff. And like, that's sick. But see, like that, whoever the folks are at the top at TDE, they are looking for these real ones, you know, that are in the field, like that are really trying, and you could lock them in the room and they'll come out with some stuff. And I think that's something that is just, again, reiterating what you said. Like, you got to do the work when nobody's looking. Right. You got to do the work when you don't know what the outcome is going to be, but for the sake of doing good work. That's what we're doing here. Yeah. And I think that was exemplified there the most with TDE, for sure. Right. So
it's like they're top of the charts, you know, obviously. Over the past decade, they've gone to levels that they've always imagined or dreamt of, you know? Sure. But it all started from those little tasks that they did early on. It all started
that's
with
that
the
pioneering
routines.
part. You know, we were talking earlier about the hero's journey, and that, like, the hero is somebody who goes into the unknown. Right. And is more often than not, doesn't have like a predecessor to lead them through, like in the light. I think when you do have that, you can elevate, you can further what somebody in front of you paved the way for, which is why people are paving the way. They're not doing it so it remains a dirt road. They want you to make it a curb. They want you to make cities around this. They want you to create entire ecosystems, and that's not going to happen in our lifetime. So it's important that people who pave the way make it so that other folks don't have to do the same bullshit. Right. So that they can get further. Right. And I think that's what that sort of work ethic, you know, that mindset in terms of doing the work no matter what, blazing forward no matter what, that sort of mentality, I think is prevalent if you are ready to take that on as a hero, as a pioneer. Right. Like that I'm going to go somewhere where there are no expectations. It's scary, and it's not something a lot of people do. Yeah. But you can see, I mean, you know,
but it's the key. It's the key to success.
The rewards are clear.
Right. Like, it is a key. Like, if you want to create something from nothing, like a brand, a company, an artist's career, like, no matter what it is, if you want to create from nothing, you have to pave your own way. Sure. Because like, following the mainstream is not going to get you there. You know, that little, if you have a goal to create something from nothing, if you follow the mainstream, you're not going to really get to your goal.
Because it's already been done.
It's already been done. You can't,
No. Being an emulation of what's already been done is a good way to earn a living, I would say. But I think when you're trying to achieve those new heights, right, when you're trying to visualize different circumstances for you and your people, I don't think it comes from following what's happening already. Right. I think you do have to intentionally be different.
Right.
And you have to approach that with a different level of intent.
100.
That I love this music. And again, vanity. I'm just speaking. I would love to make music like Future. Like,
for sure,
Future's music is awesome. But it's already there. And you like it because it's Future. You don't like it because it's you.
Right.
You like it because Future's doing Future.
True.
And Thug did Thug, and Kendrick did Kendrick. You know, and
Tech Nine did Tech Nine.
Yeah.
There's no other Tech Nine in the world.
No, but then as much as I know, how many artists are playing the consumer role while they're trying to also create.
Right.
Which is a great hobby, I think. And if that's what makes you happy, that's it. That's all you got to look for. But if you're going to expect to make a living, to create generational wealth,
if you want to impact,
be fearless.
Yeah, bro. Like, if you want to impact a lot of people, like, you have to do something that's not mainstream and totally where you're doing you.
100%.
And, recently I've been reading Mark Randolph's book. He's the co-founder. He's the founder of Netflix. It was his idea.
Okay.
But, he's talking about Netflix.
You said Mark Randolph?
Yep.
Okay.
Him and Reed Hastings, they founded Netflix.
Okay.
These two, man, it was the same freaking journey, I feel like, because like at the beginning, when they were not, when they were not in Netflix yet, when they were like cooking up this idea, they had a dream of doing something different. I want to do something new. I want to do something that will impact the world, because this was early .com era. So they were like, I want to create an online business. This was the late 90s. Amazon just started out, and they were like, fuck, I want to do something like Amazon. Amazon was just selling books. So they were like, Jeff Bezos is doing books. We want to do something else. I don't know what it is, but we want to do something different. That's when they cooked up the plan to make Netflix. Like, Amazon's doing books, we're gonna do movies. It probably. And they were also in Silicon Valley, so they were inspired by all this. The .com stuff.
And how they could utilize the internet.
Yeah, right. This is so interesting because like they're trying to make something of their own. It's different. Never been done before.
Exactly.
Blockbuster was there doing the physical stuff, and here they're trying to do something online,
Right, but they did do physicals, right? Netflix, remember they delivered, right? They delivered
but like
DVDs.
Blockbuster with the physical store. And
and that's what I think drove Blockbuster out. Was that like, now I don't need a brick and mortar.
Right.
Now like we got warehouses that store our DVDs, and then we just really deal with shipping. Right. And at that time, I remember it was so different, so unique.
It was so different.
And like everyone was very excited about their Netflix coming in the mail.
Right.
And we had a week to watch it. Same thing. And then we could just mail it back. I didn't have to drive anywhere. It was very
And you know what you're talking about, that time that you're talking about when we, the consumers got into Netflix, was in the early 2000s, right? You're talking about early 2000s.
Right.
But before that, in the late 90s, 99, nobody knew about Netflix, and everybody was like questioning it. And that's the interesting thing I found in their book, is that period, that 99, 2000, that 98, those times working on Netflix for an industry where like people aren't so even ready for DVDs yet. That time DVDs were new. Isn't that crazy? And they were like, we're gonna make a DVD rental business online. Nobody.
It's all fantastic sounding.
It's all awesome, but is it really gonna work?
Oh, sorry, fantastical.
Yeah. Or is it gonna work?
Right. Because there's so much doubt.
There is
when
so
you're
much,
living in that time, when in real time, when you have these ideas that are gonna shape the future, that are gonna be huge corporations. There's
and they don't know that at that time. They don't know it. Their investors don't know that at that time. And same thing that you're talking about for TDE. When they had J-Rock, when they signed J-Rock to Warner and it went south, they knew they had big goals, big dreams that we're seeing today. Today, Kendrick and SZA, everybody's like manifesting those dreams into reality for TDE.
Right.
But back then, they were the only ones with the freaking idea, and nobody else knows about it.
Sure.
And they don't know what's gonna happen.
Sure.
They themselves are doubting, through that period.
Yeah.
But
doubts are normal. Yeah. Doubts are normal.
But they're working.
But they work through the doubts.
They work through the
100%.
doubts. They're like, we just have to do it.
Work through the doubts.
You
That's
never
a huge
know.
one. That's a big one. And I think like that's something that it's so much easier said than done. Like those folks at Netflix, it's in hindsight that we can say that it was a great idea and it changed the world. But I'm sure like you said, when they were in the now discussing it, everyone around them looking at them like, wait, what?
Right.
And You mean no VHS? None?
Yeah.
And it's like,
dude, right.
And they probably saw a whole future where they're like, dude, these DVDs are going to go out soon.
These are going to work.
Yeah. Like, let's ride this DVD wave while we can. And they effectively switched to streaming too.
Right.
They made that pivot. Yeah. And for a while there, it was Netflix and chill.
Right.
Until these other companies were like, whoa. Y'all are doing way too much. Yeah, with all our shit. Right. We're going to need it back. And then now everybody's on streaming. Right. So again, pioneer. And that's a hero's journey. And
it's true. Like that, like what you said is true. Like nobody really believed in it yet because, and that book's title is That'll Never Work. You know, that will never work. So they heard that will never work so many times. The guy was like, fuck, I'm going to write a book on this and I'll show you that it will work.
That's incredible. And that's like, oh man, that's like the rich petty that I want to be. You know, like I want to work my way to that, honestly. Because like you provide knowledge, but with, you know, you get your rocks off too. You know, where it's like, oh, I think I've heard this about 1 million times. That'd be a great title for a book. Right. And they do it. They lean into it.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah. And look at this, trajectory, for both TDE, Netflix, and companies like them. Like, just like you and I, we're starting this brand Unfiltered, from zero.
Right.
Just like they did back then, they were just driving around, like shooting ideas.
Like, this is what we should do. Came up. This is what we should do.
Yes.
And
that's the beauty of this brand, Unfiltered. It's like we're starting from zero. We have some great ideas. Yeah. We know where it could go.
Yep.
But the audience and nobody else has seen that yet, and they don't know where it's gonna go. But they will. They will find out. Right. Like they will start following. They will realize that there is like value to it.
There's value here.
They'll see the product,
100%.
And that's the most exciting thing.
Very much
that's
so.
One of the most exciting
providing
things.
Value for everybody.
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think that comes from like being a pioneer, doing something different.
Right.
Being actively different.
Right.
For sure.
This is so interesting, the lessons learned from these two particular stories that we talked about, like TDE and Netflix.
Yeah.
The two lessons so far that I see are parallel or the same is getting out there early.
Yeah.
Like even when they haven't seen their goals and dreams manifested yet, they're still getting out there early.
Doing the work.
Yeah. Yes. Doing the work. Like they've been doing the work right from the start. And they just continued that routine, that habit of like keeping on working over the decades. Right. And that leads to like long-term success. Keeping your head down. Yeah.
And working. So like I just thought about it. Idris Elba had a very interesting quote about that. He said, I think this might have been on the Hot Ones YouTube show. It might have been. But he was saying how he does laps, in the Olympic pool. He does like swim laps. And I think he aims to do like something ridiculous, like 25 or 30 or some shit like that. So like he says when he goes in to do that, it's really important that he finds rhythm and he keeps his head down and just goes. He's noticed that when he looks up to check how many, I think when you touch the side of the pool, it registers the number. These are big, like really awesome facilities. So when he says he looks up and he checks to see how many laps he's at, if he does that earlier on, so then he only sees like 9 or 10, he'll peter out by 15. Mm-hmm. He just won't have it. But if he just keeps his head down and just focuses on finding rhythm and doing the work,
right,
he looks up and he's at 27. So the 3 are just cake at that point. He's like, oh, and I'm gonna kill these last 3. And it's something where your body is conditioned and finds this flow state. We talk about that too. And that does not come from validation. That does not come from checking results. That comes from honestly trying to be better with every attempt. And that's important. Like you said, the first thing, getting out there. Getting out in the field is very, and literally, like, it's like pioneering. Like, it's like getting out, and like going in places where people behind you may not have, or people from your culture may not have, and allowing yourself to be seen in a different way. Like, this is all very difficult things, but you got to do that. And being a pioneer, I think, is like, I think from there, like, you'll naturally just do the work because you're out there. You don't really have a choice. Like, and after a certain point in time, can't really turn back, right? Like, we just gotta like continue. when you have ambitions like ours, when you have visions like ours, you have to get out there first. And I did that, like, as me personally, just as a rapper, as somebody who loved music and somebody who learned how to make music. I quickly started just putting my music out. Bro, this was hot garbage, you know, like, right. Woo! And if you hear it now, it is a tough listen. But you have to start. You got to get going. You have to. And like, I had to get over that kind of that reservation, you know, feeling embarrassed, feeling inadequate. Like, yo, like, I do not look like any of these people. My inspirations at the time were G-Unit and like Eminem and Snoop, you know, and like Dr. Dre, Nas, Jay-Z, like, and this is me 13 years old, like really trying to be a rapper, you know? So like, there's like so many hurdles that come with that. Like, just like my parents not getting it, you know, like people around me at school. Thank God, real quick, I just want to thank God that I never got jumped. You know, like, that's something that just didn't happen to me. And that's something that I think maybe people who were around me saw that I genuinely loved what I was doing. Right. Despite me being garbage, you know, at like what I was doing. They were just like, look at this kid loving it. You know, like, look at him enjoying himself.
Right.
And like, I want to enjoy myself like he does. Granted, his music is ass. So like, whatever. But like, that's separate from what I'm watching. And bro, I got on stage. You know what I mean? I'm rapping. 8th grade, real quick story. 8th grade. Do you know the song Run Rabbit Run by Eminem?
Yes.
Oh my God. I rapped this at a talent show. It was like during lunch. They gave me the mic. I did such a great job of skipping all the curse words, blanks, you know?
Yeah.
And then I said something about, you think all I do is stand here and feel my nuts. I said that. The mic got cut off so quickly. Like, so quickly. And as soon as it got cut off, everyone started booing. And I thought it was because of me. But like, some of the friends had to tell me afterwards, you know, like, I get off stage, like patting me on the back and shit. They're like, yo, SAHEER, that was dope, man. Like, they were like getting all hyped that I was like rapping Eminem and stuff. And like, from there, like, I just kept going, man. I actually got out on stage. I actually took the mic. Like, these are beats that I made at home. This is everything that I'm doing, and I'm genuine about it. I love this shit. And then it just gets better as time goes on, you know?
Right.
And I remember thinking, bro, I don't see anybody else like me out here. Very ignorant of me to think that, because I didn't do my due diligence in reaching out, really, you know? So like, I didn't really get to like work with people until like 08, 09, when I was like kind of in college. Whereas like, I learned very recently that you were at South by Southwest.
Right. Yep. In the
this was 2015, 2014, 2015, you said?
Yeah, 2015 or 16.
2016, yeah. So now that fact to me is like very eyebrow raising, because it's like, I don't think there was others out there. So bro, tell me.
We were actually a South Asian hip hop focused you know, company, Desi Hip Hop, like going to South by Southwest to talk about the market that we so much believed in, you know?
Yeah.
And this was early on. And, you know, I also draw the same type of inspiration from the stories that we just talked about, TDE and Netflix. It's a similar thing for us around that time when we started that company, you know, around 2011. We had an idea, a vision for the future, where we saw that during that time, the problem that we were trying to solve was that South Asian artists weren't getting like the attention in the media and on blogs and stuff like that. So we were like, we want to solve this problem by creating a brand that will support South Asian artists around the world, you know, and you know, hip hop focused South Asian artists, you know? Right. So, but we saw that vision early on, where it's like, you know, this will turn into like a genre, and the genre is gonna be Desi hip hop, because like South Asian hip hop. That's what we saw at an early stage. But nobody else saw it, you know, or like there were a few people who saw it, but that was just the cluster that we were in. You know? We were in the little circle that saw that vision, but nobody else saw it, you know, outside this group. And similar to TDE, similar to Netflix, we had to jump in and just start doing this, because it felt like, since we believe that this thing will blow up in the future, we have to work on it now, because if we don't do it, then it's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah,
you know?
well, what? Like, people are just gonna do you a solid and like believe in your idea? Like, no, dude, like, you gotta back it up.
Right.
And that's what was so crazy to me. It's like, y'all actually got out in the field. Right. Like,
yeah, that was important to us to get out in the field. And the beginning years, you know, we were just doing our online social media and blog. And then, you know, my business partner, Hardik, he had a nice deal with the Orchard, and then we had a good distribution deal going on.
Right.
During that time, we got contacted by South by Southwest, and so we decided that this was the perfect way to go to a music conference and speak. You know, like we were going there as speakers with a panel instead of an artist showcase. You know, like because usually South by Southwest, you know, artists go do the showcase thing. They perform in front of an audience, which is great. But this was an opportunity for us to speak our mind and kind of like show that audience like what the future holds.
Like getting out there, like in front of them. Like this is we're representing this future.
Yes, and this is what we're working on. This is what our company is. And during that time, so we were tasked with putting together a panel to talk. And so we had, a good group of people that we figured out would benefit the whole, panel discussion and the audience over there. So we set up this group, all right? And it was a panel of me, my business partner, Hardik, co-founder of the company, and then a lawyer. What was he? To me, he was a lawyer, but he was a legal representative of music industry folks.
Okay.
And then there was another South Asian American artist who we also looped in.
Yeah.
So this South Asian American artist, he wanted to get to South by Southwest too. He had some successes and he had a couple of albums and some hit singles, and things like that. And so he was a great artist to bring along in our panel, so that he could also talk about the South Asian experience in America as an artist.
Sure.
So it was a perfect way for us to collaborate on something that's like a panel. Instead of like a show, it's a panel.
People get to actually speak about what this is.
Yeah.
Add context to the art that they're viewing.
Exactly. And for us, it was a great win to have that artist with us, is because like we can now, the industry that we're talking about, we can showcase like an artist who's also South Asian, just like, just
and
like
successful.
Us. Yeah, and successful. He's got some things going.
Right.
And it's an opportunity for him to share his story as well. Like, not that he wasn't in the media already, like here, but it was another way for him to share his story.
Of course.
Win-win for all, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, cool, let's do it, At that time, I also had a job, right? Like I had a full-time job in tech. I had the early beginnings of a tech business that I was putting together.
Wow. Okay.
But around that time, we have to go to South by Southwest, because like this music brand that we're building is like another, like for me, it was, I wouldn't call it a side hustle, but it's another focus in my life as well. So South by Southwest opportunity comes, I hop on a car on, at the end of my work day on Friday.
Okay.
And it was a whole drama because like with the rental, there was so many things happening during this time.
Real quick, back it up just for a second. You're driving from where?
All right. Good question. So I was in Minneapolis.
Okay.
I was in Minneapolis. South by Southwest is all the way south in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And I had to get there for this panel discussion. But this was the early years of our business, and we were completely lean startup. We believed in the leanness of a startup,
Right.
We weren't going to spend on anything that's not required.
Sure.
So for us at that time, it felt it was a better decision to drive there, for me at least, instead of putting a flight on a credit card and doing it,
Yeah.
The drive, turned out cheaper because I got a Prius. That was dope.
Nice.
But at that time, my credit was so bad, bro. Like I was building credit, but I was also building a business. So a lot of like things was going on credit cards.
Sure.
So I couldn't do it on my credit card.
Yeah.
Hell, I had to get my brother's credit card.
Wow.
And then get the
Look
rental.
at you doing whatever you had to do.
Yes, but that's what's important for
huge.
any business to start.
And that's real quick, just not to gloss over that, but that's like a lot of pride there. A lot of people have a lot of pride where they won't reach out for help.
Right.
Where because like maybe they don't believe in what they're doing enough. Maybe they're afraid of success. I don't know. But that, you reaching out to your brother being like, look, man, I'm doing XYZ. Can I just like that's commendable.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think that's the thing that like every person who has a goal, you're gonna run into obstacles, but then you have to manage those obstacles, and through that you learn the tools and the tricks of the trade, to like succeed next time,
Sure.
And that's really the journey that we're all on, know. So back to that story.
Yeah.
I figured it out, got the Prius, went to South by Southwest.
Okay.
Like it was a 17-hour drive.
Anything happened on the way?
Dude, so many things happened.
Oh my God.
Like it wasn't nothing bad happened.
No, but just the way you looked up, where it was.
The main thing that came to my head when you asked me that was like in this like 19-hour drive, the end of it, like I was tripping. Like I was driving and I was just like,
no.
Keep going, but I had to make it, like. But I would stop every hour, get coffee, 5-hour power, do some like push-ups, runs, get back in the car, and then go again. It was crazy.
Holy crap! All right.
But we had to make it.
Yeah, we had to make it. Yeah,
right. And so like, dude. But yeah, went to South by Southwest, right? And so we were chilling. The day. This was like before the panel and before the speaking. There was this little meet and greet, and for the speakers, there's this meet and greet for the speakers, and you go and get your badges and stuff during this time, and get to talk to all the speakers at South by Southwest. Like, it's a networking thing,
Sure.
So this was a great place for us to go. So me and Hardik, we went there, and we're like, all right, we're gonna meet our co-speakers in the panel, like for the first time here. Before this, we were in communication by email.
Okay.
And phone calls and whatnot, But now we're gonna meet them. All right, this is gonna be great.
Right, so, meeting in person is great.
Yeah,
sure.
So we were there, and we were waiting. So we met the first guy. We were waiting on the artist, the South Asian American artist, and so he's a quote unquote big shot in some people's eyes, and so it was gonna be like a dope little connection. So we saw him coming into the room from a distance, and we were like, hey, that's him right there. He's coming in, and we we're like, should we go say hi? And yeah, let's go. And he sees us, and he's like dashing, kind of like cover his face and just trying to like sneak away,
bro.
And we're like, something is wrong here. I'm not getting this, like. We invited him to South by Southwest. Yeah. This badge has all access, like speakers with this badge get all access to everything, This is dope. Why is he ignoring us? And then we saw him like going into that the place where you pick up the badge.
Yeah.
Saw him do his thing, and we're like, maybe now, we'll talk to him. He just got his thing.
Okay.
And then we were trying to approach him, and he saw that, and he exited. Like, he left the area. Just took his badge.
Disrespect.
He just
he just skated off.
He did.
Oh shit.
Crazy guy. But this is an example, a classic example of when you have the vision for the future.
Yeah.
But nobody else other than you and your group or your circle.
That's crazy.
Nobody else gets it. This is an example of that.
Even somebody who was purportedly gonna be a part of your
We thought,
panel.
South Asian American artist, rapper, musician, perfect for the the future that we see. But he didn't see that in us, or maybe he thought that we were not the right people for him, or
nasty
whatever
behavior.
It is, right?
Yeah,
something weird.
But
I imagine like TDE went through the same type of
no's.
100%. You had to go through so many no's. That's a no that was in physical representation. Usually, people get a no by email or text.
Yeah, or it's just radio silence.
Radio silence. But this no was like he's leaving. He didn't say hi to us, bro.
That didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not imagining this, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, it's a very incredulous feeling.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Early in your startup, it's just like, oh, that's a big no in your face, which can be like, daunting. But for me, like
I was low key wondering why we're keeping his name off, and now I see it. Yeah, this was a little
right. Yeah,
questionable.
No,
no, it's not about disrespect. It's just questionable behavior.
It's questionable behavior,
especially just because. And I don't mean to highlight it more, but it's just you made a space here where you were going to talk about this label, company, platform that was going to empower South Asian hip hop artists,
right, in
a very big way. And if you could do something like that in America with somebody who has experienced success,
right,
it would move things further. And it, like you said, win-win-win. Yet some people, they might still lean into their insecurities,
right,
and maybe like to the established order,
right,
instead of being like, you know what, maybe we could be Mavericks, maybe we could be sitting at the beginning of a Netflix here,
right. And that's the difference between some people. One of the lessons we were just talking about is getting out there early.
Sure.
One of the guys, we were lucky around that time that one of the guys that we ran into was Humble the Poet, who is also South Asian.
Shout out Humble.
Yeah, but he's from Toronto.
Yeah.
And he's here at South by Southwest. He was just there as an artist, he was doing his music thing.
Okay.
And we ran into him and we were like, bro, one of the people just said F you to us. Do you want to join our panel? And Humble, he's so humble. He was like, yes, let's do it.
Wow.
Like he took that opportunity. He did he showed up. Like he was early in his career, so
but Humble was popping too though.
Yeah.
Like when I was going to college, when I was going to college, like we knew Humble the Poet.
Nice.
And like all the rappers, like at least the brown rappers, like they knew, and Humble had records that I even listened to.
Dope records. Yeah.
100%.
He was a great guy, and he saw me and he was like,
awesome.
"You're the guy who writes all those articles, right?" Because we were running our blog.
Oh shit! Okay.
And he was like, "You're the guy." I was like, "Yes, I'm the guy. Do you want to do this panel?" And he was like, "Yes."
Real recognized real at that point. Like,
that's just really, a mad respect to him. He saved our ass.
Yes. Respect.
Yeah, but it was great because we got to speak about our passion for this project that we were doing at that time. We were building something very new. Okay. And we were surprised to see a room full of people. Like it was, I think 150 people in that room who were there to hear this story about hip hop
from different
backgrounds. South Asians
from different backgrounds.
Yeah, there was media people. There was just lots of people.
But also like culturally. Ethnicity wise, because we can appeal to our people. Right. I think that's the first thing we should be doing. But then there's also the world. There's also humanity in general.
Right.
That when you're in a place in America with that vision, this is your so eventually it was a good ending to the story in that you had your panel, you had somebody again who was successful, who had made an impact through hip hop music, as an example.
Yes.
And you were there to show people the vision of the future. That's really cool.
Yeah, incredible branding opportunity, for us and for the artists as well, and just with the media being in there in that room, great way for us to shake some hands and get to know some people early on.
Getting out in the field, getting out
in the field. Yes.
So that's important also for anybody now. It's I know how much we do everything online and people consume things online, but it's important to be out there in person. I mean, COVID made it more difficult to do that, but now as we're slowly getting away from that and being healthier and cleaner, we can do that again. And I think that legitimizes and energizes people way more. When they see you, when they shake your hand, they feel your energy, and that is real. That's palpable. And I think you felt that with bro just skating off on you. I felt that from here, and that's not good.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and in those early years,
life lessons.
Lesson 1 was that we gotta start. You just get started, like we just said. And lesson 2 is doing the work when nobody's looking. And when nobody's looking, you're doing the work. And when everybody's saying no, you're doing the work.
You're still doing the work.
Yeah, that's so important. At that time, we could have just felt like, oh shit, this sucks.
We might need to cancel this.
Yeah, maybe you know what? F fuck this. You know what? We could have just been
you could have gotten angry.
Do this. Yeah.
You could have gotten angry.
Yeah. Screw this. They don't like us. We don't like them either. You know?
Hate meets hate. Evil meets evil. No.
Right.
That's really awesome. You didn't let yourself turn into a villain.
Right. Yeah. We didn't do that, you know, and we kept on going, you know, and that's
mad respect.
Yeah. That increases longevity because at that time, like it helped us to keep going, you know, and for me, I'm a first gen immigrant, you know, for me, like my goal was to create a business from the ground up and like make impact. Like my goal wasn't to like be liked or, you know, like, you know, like
famous.
Get famous and get yeses from everyone and like, yes, sir, you know,
being liked.
Yeah. I don't give like I'm trying to build a business
sustainable.
Here.
I want to give people opportunities. I want to make an organization.
Yes.
It's huge.
Yeah. It's huge. And, you know, I spent the past decade and a half or more like building this brand from zero to like, you know, 5 million users a month.
Huge.
Like I can't say that I built it, but like me and the team and Hardik, business partner, like who was doing so many things that was just like his visions were like longevity focused, you know, and I'm grateful for that. That he was focused on the longevity, and I was trying to do like a lot of like day-to-day things, and together we were able to focus and build something that just, you know, that helped build a genre and a brand, you know, in the future. You know, that we didn't see in 2015 or 16. We were like, we got to do this. But then now in 2023, we're seeing a genre, an industry, you know, from what was just like a social media and a website was then later a genre on Spotify, a genre on Apple Music, where they're like ranking the top 50 Desi hip hop, you know, things like that. Is like fire. That's what we wanted. You know?
Hell yeah. You guys were on the forefront of that.
Yeah, man. It's so interesting. It's, you know, it's really the long game. You know, we gotta always remember the long game. You know, for any brand, any artist, you know, any entrepreneur, if you have like an idea, something new that you want to create, whether it's a song, whether it's a social media thing or an e-commerce business, you got to think the long game. You know, that's what I think TDE did. They were thinking long game. That's what I believe Netflix did. They were thinking long game. They were making a DVD rental company online for the time when everybody would be having DVD players at home. They were building that when most people didn't have DVD players at home.
No,
you know?
It was still VHS.
Yeah. And they figured out the long game, you know?
Wow.
And for us too, like going to South by Southwest, we were thinking the long game. Like 2015, 100%. 16, we're thinking what's going to happen in 2025, you know? And that's what we're, you know, planting the seeds for.
Right.
And, you know, I saw that happen, manifest in reality, because like in 2015, 2016, when this situation happened and that South Asian American artist kind of like said the F U to us and left, you know, one of the biggest lessons that I learned at that time was like not to take it personally. You know, it was...
Wait, real quick, can I just pick your brain about that? Mm-hmm. Where did you get that mentality? Why didn't you turn into a villain at that point?
Because like we were working on this brand in that initial stage. Everybody was saying no.
Okay.
What was really happening is that, you know, our focus was we wanted to give South Asian artists a pedestal to stand up on. And the reason why we're doing that is because like we saw that XXL Mag or The Source or, you know, all these big websites that were the blogs, you know, the Dat Piffs and all that. Like we saw that they weren't focusing on these individuals that we believed in.
Yeah.
And so we already saw the no's, you know, to the industry, to the genre that we believed in.
Okay.
We already saw the no's, and we already saw the, you know, the reactions of like, we don't want to work with this.
Like like reaching out to them.
Yeah, reaching out to them. Yes.
Trying to work together, and then realizing like, oh, they don't really care for us.
Yeah, nobody gives a
Holy
like
shit.
This was a time when I had like a album in Bangladesh, like in 2009 or 8, I think.
Okay.
2008, where it was like in a proper mainstream record label that was like popping in Bangladesh.
Wow.
Us trying to market that to a different audience was like a hell no. You know, there's no way that like XXL Mag or The Source wanted to like feature
shine a light.
Yeah, shine a light on like a artist from India or Bangladesh or Pakistan or the Middle East or anywhere. You know, unless it was something like really
monster hit.
Yeah, exactly. So we're used to the no's, you know, and so like seeing this South Asian American artist giving us the FU was like, okay, we've seen that already. That's fine, you know, that's okay. And you know, even Hardik was like, bro, don't even worry about it. And you know, he was you know, advanced.
That's
you know,
really good. Wow.
Yeah, he's you know, he's a family man. He's you know, he thinks about things in long term, and he was like, this is nothing, you know, don't even worry about it. Wow. We took that energy and went with it, you know. Yeah. Fast forward, you know, many years later, this South Asian American artist, like, obviously I was in my 20s, right? Like, obviously to me, it was like, oh, this guy, I'm never going to talk to him ever again, you know? If I see him anywhere, it's on sight. Yeah, it's that guy. You know? But, you know, that was the youth, you know? But wisdom told me later on, like, many years later, fast forward, he was, you know, as we were distributing, you know, music, you know, we had a deal with the Orchard, which was a great, you know, opportunity to like put South Asian artists on a pedestal through Spotify and Apple Music, you know, things like that. Yeah. We were building our relationships with teams at Spotify, you know, because you got to know some playlisters.
Got to do that.
Around that time, you know, there was no Desi hip hop on Spotify, so we were trying to like create genre placement on Spotify which would say Desi hip hop. You know, like when you're categorizing music, we wanted to categorize under Desi hip hop. Yeah. So through that we were getting to know them, and I remember there was a job opening. Yeah. They were looking for a curator for the Desi music scene. Okay. And I applied for that job at that time as well. I was like, fuck it, I'm the one. Yeah. We're talking about this, but ended up that worked out well for everybody. But somebody else got hired, and this somebody else that got hired was the South Asian American artist who said the FU to us at South by Southwest. Oh, shit. So I was like, oh, man, this guy's there. And but for me, I was like, you know what? Yeah, that was a long time ago. This is a few years after South by Southwest, you know? I don't quite remember when. Yeah. But this happened, right? So I was like, all right, you know what? Whatever, you know, let it be. We gotta get to know each other, and it'll be, you know, because we gotta work, because I gotta pitch music to him. We're releasing all the South Asian music, and he's the curator. Right. So gotta do this, and you know, turned out it was great, you know, because our relationship through that built, you know, through emails and communication, and he was a nice guy. He wasn't a dick to me. He wasn't like he wasn't that FU guy that I had imagined.
That was your last interaction.
My interaction with him gave me this vision. But turned out he was a nice guy too. He was just trying to do his thing. Yeah. I'm just trying to do my thing. Right. And we didn't have any like, you know, any issues or any negative grudges or anything, you know? Sure. And I think that's the long game. You know, that's lesson number 3 from all this, you know, is the long game. You got to think about the long game early on. You know, we could have emailed like you know, hit that guy up at South by Southwest. Like that day, we could have, you could have written up an angry email, like, bro, you know, that was a nice. What the heck, bro?
That wasn't nice. You hurt my feelings.
Yeah. You know, like we're like the creative types. We'd be like, you hurt my feelings, motherfucker.
My feelings are sacred. No. Like that's you're totally right. Not to take shit personal.
Right.
Like,
not to take it personally. Game. Yeah. We could have done that, you know, and he could have done the same. He could have been like, bro, you know what? Fuck you guys. Yeah. I never want to work with you. Yeah. He didn't do that. We didn't do that.
That's really good on him too, though. Yeah. No, that's really big on him as well. Yeah. Like it wasn't a you like through emails anymore. No. Or when you had like a way to assist or way to progress the vision that you and Hardik have, which is like getting South Asian artists more shine. Yeah. Getting them real placements in America.
Right.
It's huge.
Yes. And that's like my goal was always, bro. Yeah. First goal was always to like create a business that is successful, not like to be liked and like, you know, not to take things personal and like, you know, business and personal is very different, you know, for me, and it's separate. So I can't like mix the two and get all emotional and stuff like that.
No, you're not going to make good decisions for yourself.
Yeah. And it all like made sense to me, you know, it manifested in reality, this lesson through this experience, because it was like
huge,
something that could have gone south later on like did full circle, and it was great, you know.
And it
like,
was the complete opposite of what you were left with emotion wise. So yeah, that long game, that like knowing that, you know, not to take things personally, because this is a long journey. People come in and out of your life, you know, and they provide support when they can, when it's also beneficial for them. You can't blame them for looking out for their shit, you know, because like you're doing what you want to do, and like you have to like being open and being elastic in that way. Like, you know what, maybe not this time, let's just go back, let's get back to work, and maybe the stars will line up like some way down the way. And then when you go through that for real, without expecting it to happen, now you can tell yourself even with more confidence, should you encounter some negativity further on, you know, or more obstacles, you're not turning into a villain. And that's really
you got to keep that, be mission focused, you know. You know, earlier on you gave an example of Idris Elba, who does the swimming laps, and you know, he doesn't take his head out. Like, he doesn't lift his head to look at the lap. He doesn't look up to look at the lap counter. He just keeps going, you know. And I think that long game is possible by just looking at the next milestone, not the final milestone.
No.
Don't look at the, you know, lap 30 that you're trying to get to. You got to look at the next one, the next lap, the next lap, the next lap.
And find that rhythm. Find where you're like, you're not even noticing the laps go by. You're not even noticing the iterations that go by.
No.
You're just like full-fledged outputting.
Right.
And it's difficult.
You're just working on your craft.
But then when you do, and then you notice like, oh, you know what? I really don't care about the results as much. I am enjoying myself here.
Yes.
And then you finally look up and you're like, oh,
wow.
Yep. Look at where we are. I think Mountain Climber said that too. The like on the ice picks and stuff. That like,
I have a story on that too, man. I was listening to Jocko Willink.
Okay.
He has an amazing podcast. He is a retired Navy SEAL.
Okay.
And he's sick. Like, he's done a lot of. He's a Navy SEAL who even trains Navy SEAls. You know, he's that level. This guy goes hard. You know, and my wife's a retired. You know, she's a veteran. So even she put me on to Jocko Willink, honestly, because she admires that, you know, that army hustle, the military hustle. You know. So Jocko Willink was in his book, he was talking about in the Navy SEALs have to go through these late night ruck marches, and what these are is like long, like marathon type runs, like that'll take the entire night, and then the next day you reach your destination. That's
the entire night.
Yes, my wife did that too. Like, it's the end of basic training and AIT at the beginning.
Shit.
It's an intense training,
to say the least.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, but Jocko Willink, he was the leader of his pack, you know. So to get his group going like the entire night, he would be doing these runs and like inspire his people to just look at the next milestone, the next thing. Like, if there's, for example, they're running, there's like a tree coming up, they'd be like, just look at the tree, just look at the tree, we're getting to the tree. And then maybe there's like a, you know, whatever milestone there is on their path, you know, like,
so they're like points that we're gonna cross.
That's the one. Yeah, just focus on that one. Like, let's say there's like a bridge ahead, and they'll be like, oh, to the bridge, you know, just keep focusing on the bridge instead of focusing on the fact
that we have this much longer to
have to keep going because it's a whole, you know, 30-mile run.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah. Instead of that, they're just like, the next milestone, the billboard. Look at that billboard. Just focus on the billboard. You know,
incredible.
And then past the billboard, and then the next one. You know, and that just keeps them going.
Holy
and then
shit.
all of a sudden they realize, oh, okay, we finished the entire night. We're almost to the end now. And then they reach the end.
And then they reach the end. Because then, like, you're so close to finishing.
Yes.
At that point, like, we're going to,
you get that extra jolt of energy and you just finish it off.
For sure.
And that's, I think, the long game for any startup, any dreamer, any artist, musician, entrepreneur. The long game is just that. Just focus on the next milestone. Just do the next one.
Yeah.
And then one day.
And then see what the next one is. And see what the next one is. The point is to not stop working. All these things that we talked about, they all kind of work together. And it simultaneously happens. It's not like one after the other.
Right.
It's like these are things that when they come as a trifecta, I think like these three, like very basic principles, whatever you're applying them to, you should be getting results.
Right.
Whether they're good or not, I don't know. You know, but you should be getting results.
Yeah.
And that's what's important, is showing that you executed, you're you're actually getting things done.
Right.
And then after that, you improve, you refine naturally, and all aspects, elevate as you just continue to keep going. Wow, the milestone thing is huge. That's something to apply.
That's really interesting.
And just in life in general, like when you have things planned in your head, let's get that done. Let's make sure that we actually cross that. Not think about, I want to be sitting on like 200 acres, like I want like diverse portfolio and like, these cars and shit. Like, it's like, all right. Yeah, it's good to know that like there is a point where you are happy. I think that's also important, is not letting it go on forever and being in this eternal greed struggle of like more. Right. Like I do think there is a place where you can be happy. I believe that.
Right.
But getting there. Like
just
focusing
one
on
day at a time.
Focusing on those small milestones.
Right.
Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is. And like this podcast, this brand Unfiltered, that's what we're doing. We're just focusing on the next milestone.
Yeah.
For us, that's the next episode.
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick. Just the next episode,
sir.
The next content piece, the next, vision, like the next thing that's coming for us. That's the only thing we're focusing on. That's
exactly.
it. But you and I know that we do have like a long vision here.
There's a whole play.
Long term.
There's a whole play.
Yes. But we're just going to do it day by day,
Yes, sir.
I love this. Like today we talked about like 3 big lessons, that we picked up from TDE's story and from NETFLIX and from our personal stories.
Right.
Building our brands. And, the lesson number 1 was like, got to put in the work when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
When nobody's looking, you just got to put in the work.
Yeah.
2, get out there.
Getting out there.
Get out there early. Don't wait.
Sure.
Just get out there.
Getting out there is huge.
It's huge. And 3, while you're doing these things, focus on the long game. Just focus on the current, like focus on the next milestone, knowing that it's for a long game. Like
100%.
There's a long game to everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Like today, you just got to focus on the next milestone. Don't take anything personally. Just figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
Because there's a long game.
Not taking things personally is hard, even for non-creative folks. People are just emotional.
Right.
But I think that also, that does like stops you from looking at that long game. That like, and if you just like Hardik told you, like, don't worry about it. Like for him to give you that, like as somebody who was working with him and you're younger than him in experience and life experience, I'd say like that was a huge moment where like, where you exemplified the long game. Or like, let him be.
Right.
It's awesome. Yes. Those 3 things are huge. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. That's
dope,
perfect,
man.
Well, awesome, bro. Like
I learned a lot.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. There's like it feels like we added to our knowledge base.
Right.
Or at least I do. Like listening to that South by Southwest story. That's something I'm gonna take with me.
Yes.
as like, more of the long game. Try not to take things too personally, because I even find myself doing that sometimes.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah, man.
Me too. Well, we're work in progresses.
Always.
That's the best part. In this Unfiltered podcast, we are going to show the audience that we are work in progresses, and we're going to make progress in front of the audience.
Yeah.
Thereby, the audience is empowered to also continue improving and continue reiterating their lives and reinventing themselves as they, live life.
They'll be able to see the proof right there. They'll be able to watch us. And that's what I'm excited about here too, is like, as we continue.
Yes.
Yeah. And like learning more and more about you, man. Like it's a privilege. For sure.
Amazing.
All right,
well,
man.
thank you for everything.
Yes, sir. Awesome.
Until next week.
Until next week.
Boom.
All right. Peace.